What's up, everybody? You're listening to Carolina Sports Update here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I got stuff. Pretty excited. Got the set up. Pretty excited about what we have to talk about today, too. We'll get into some more draft talk for sure. Of course, we're going to do that. We got some hurricanes. Might be slumping at an inopportune time. Season finally ends for Charlotte Hornets, while Charlotte FC start to pick up more steam. We'll also try to get into a little college football recruiting, some college baseball, softball, maybe even a little lacrosse, and then wrap things up if we got the time with some USL talk. We got all that coming up right after the break, so y'all stick around, check out our sponsors.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Come back to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thanks for listening to all the sponsors there. Don't forget, we have our newest sponsor as well, Raw Nutrition Supplements at getrawnutrition.com. You can use the promo code IESR for 10% off there. I've said before, I had got some good friends who use that and enjoy it quite a bit. So be sure to check them out. Also, while you're floating around checking things out online, be sure to check me out. So official Carolina Sports Update Twitter handle there, and then my personal Twitter handle at UNCNavy03. You can also find me on Instagram at OneFansOpinion. And then if you like, get down there to the Supporters Club. You can find that link there. If you're watching on YouTube, you should be able to find it there in the comments as well. And then if you go over to that Carolina SB Up handle, you'll find the pinned comment with that link as well. You can click that link, show some support, drop a couple dollars my way, and maybe I'll get some more stuff put up in the back. So like I said at the top, pretty excited. I got that. Finally got some stuff set up behind me. We'll see. We'll probably change some things up. I try to set up with these little boards here. We're going to swap some stuff in and out. Got the shells with the Carolina draft ball caps. Maybe swap those out as the season goes on with some other teams as we start talking other sports as well. But first, we are going to talk a little bit. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. A little bit of draft for Panthers. We got 2 more weeks now. We have, right? 14th, 10 days until the draft and my anniversary. So that's going to be an interesting evening. We'll see how that works out. I'll let you know afterwards, but see how it works for the Panthers. So this time I want to take a look and talk a little bit more about process and expectations. I want to look a little bit more at some trade scenarios, trade strategies. Last couple of times we talked about if sticking at 8, we didn't do any trades, we just stuck at 8. Focused a little bit more on offense one time, and then another time focused a little bit more on defense with that 8th pick and some subsequent picks. And, had some pretty good drafts in there, I think. But I think really, and of course, it's going to take more than just the Panthers wanting to do this. But, I think the ideal scenario for the Panthers is really going to be being able to make some trades, move around on the board, particularly move back from that number 8 pick up some extra picks. Because I've talked about this before. I've heard plenty of other people talk about, while the top end elite tier of this draft is not quite as deep as what we've seen in the past. You're like real blue chip, like expect them to like deserve to be in the top 10 type picks and come in and be instant difference makers is not quite as deep as it's been in the past. Once you get down to that next tier, players who you expect to be into the first round, beginning of the second round, actually stretch from about the middle of the first round, or even a little earlier than that, in the early teens, all the way to almost the end of the second round. You can get someone at the end of the second round that would probably be just as good at the end of the first, would be just as good to pick up at the end of the first round, or even begin the second. It just kind of really depends on what your flavor is and what you like, prefer in your players. So it could be really, it's a really good time, really to draft multiple times, in the first, and then of course, really in the second and third rounds. Unfortunately for Carolina, though, they've got early first round, which puts them almost too early to make get good value out of that 8th pick. With the players that will be available. And then they don't draft again until 57, which is getting really late. And a lot of the players that you want to grab up will be off the board. It's almost 50 picks between. So at trade back, to get back into the mid-teens, early 20s, where you have a better value, you could pick up similar players that were coming available at 8 and 10. At 8. Same value, same kind of skill levels, but now you're picking in the late teens. And if they can work it right, maybe pick up an extra second round pick. So went through again with PFF. Got a really lucky trade, I thought, bounced my way. Went back to pick 17, from 8 to pick 17 with the Bengals. In exchange, I picked up pick 49 and pick 31, pick 81, which was nice because 49, like I just said, filled in that gap between 8 and 57, and dropping back to 17 also kind of closed it up a little bit. But then 81 really filled in the gap between 74 and 111 pretty nicely. So I thought that worked out really well. In exchange, they picked, but I also gave up pick 114 to the Bengals in order to make that deal happen. So dropping back, like I said, if you're looking like between 13, 15 back to 23, 25, you still get a good shot the way this board fell at players like Walker or James Pierce Jr., Shamar Stewart, even Kenneth Grant. Some of those players that have the Panthers that actually had in on visits or gone to visit them on their pro day. So I ended up going with Jalen Walker. I think he's a really good value there at that spot. PFF didn't think so, but I do. And I think the more you hear about him, the more you hear about his tone setting ability, how he can come in and just, really lift up a defense, not only on the field, but in the locker room. I think really good option to pick him up there. You could keep him at linebacker. You can move him to the edge. I think he can be pretty versatile in a Evero defensive scheme that kind of shifts, and I think is probably going to be looking. I mentioned this before, almost like a sack production by committee sort of situation. So I think Walker will kind of help set the tone and really provide a spark to this defense. Then with pick 49, you're looking at guys like Umar Mayellen, Carl Schlesinger, TJ Sanders, Nick Imanwari, Ariante Ursay, Jalen Noel, and then Brandon Swinson, all of whom the Panthers have had in. So all of whom of high interest to them. I mentioned this last time. Most of the players that they've had in on the official, 30 visits, they call them the 30 visits, are players that they're looking to target in the first and second rounds, and all those guys meet that criteria. I went with Nick Imanwari. We still need a lot of help in the secondary, especially at safety. I think his traits, his ball hawking skills will make a very nice complement to Morig, who plays more like a run defense in the box type of position. And Imanwari, while some people aren't as high on his kind of natural reaction skills, I think will still make a very good safety, kind of free safety playing out on coverage. And I also like the idea of pairing him up with J.C. Horn from South Carolina. I saw a Twitter post from him, or X post from him. He is excited to see him come to the NFL. I think he would be super excited to see him to come in Carolina. And I think that would be like an additional spark. I just like so tantalizing to me to think of the two of them there in the secondary and just feeding off of each other, getting really hype, and just feeding off that energy. Then you got Walker down in there, a linebacker, and I just think that would really help energize this defense quite a bit. And then from there, original pick 57. Well, sort of original pick, entering the draft, original pick 57, not the Panthers' actual pick, but the Rams pick there at 57. Still looking at Schweissinger. Singer is still on the board. You got TJ Henderson, the running back from Ohio State, who Carolina actually had on a visit, in Oladejo as well, who Carolina's also shown some interest in. I went with Schweissinger here. So now we're double dipping at linebacker, but with Shaq Thompson off the roster, you got Josie Jewell back there, and then blanking on his name, given something from that picked up a year ago. Not the deepest of linebacker groups right now. So bring in, we talked about him before, only 1 year starter, but really plays with his hair on fire, really fast, really furious type of player. So I think kind of double dipping there, so to speak, at linebacker, when you kind of factor in Walker's ability to play more of an outside linebacker or even edge, you kind of look at Schweissinger as a little bit more off ball. So I think a really good pairing there. And then moving on, pick 74. Finally, start looking a little bit more at the offensive side of the ball. You're looking at guys like Kyle Williams, who wasn't brought in on a visit, but you've got also Ratledge, CJ West, Alfred Collins, Kyle Kennard, who was brought in on a visit, Trapilo, the tackle from Boston College, who was brought in on a visit, and RJ Harvey, now kind of consider a little bit, who's also brought in on a visit. Carolina, oddly enough, brought in quite a few running backs, I thought, on visits, and very few cornerbacks. Only one cornerback, and we'll get to him a little bit later, but that's Quincy Riley. They brought him in, but he, from what I've seen, is the only cornerback they've brought in at this point. So kind of interesting there. But brought in, I think it was 3 running backs, including the mentioned RJ Harvey, but also Ollie Gordon the second as well. So maybe a couple other, I think 1 or 2 other guys. So in any event, I was targeting Noel with this pick. That's who I really wanted to get. I really love his skill set. I think it'd be a great compliment. You kind of move him either slot or outside. A little bit of a speedster. And I think he would complement Liggett and Coker really well. But I think he got picked right before at pick 56, not 56, 73. So that was a bit of a bummer there. So instead, I went with Kyle Williams out of Washington State. Again, wasn't brought in on a visit, but I figured now was the time to try to get a wide receiver in there. I think he, would pair well with these guys and be somebody who can kind of come up and develop along with the other guys as well. Maybe it's a little bit of a redundant thing, and it's not quite the playmaking level you would hope to pick up from a wide receiver at this point. But still, I think a very solid prospect to bring in there. And then with the added pickup of pick 81, went true edge with Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina. Again, a guy who came in for a visit. I think it was a local visit with the Panthers. Still looking also at guys like, again, RJ Harvey. He should probably hang around for a little while. Chris Paul Jr. Was available on this iteration. Jared Wilson and Vernon Broughton from Texas, I think would have been another really good option. I think I went back and forth really hard on that one there. Broughton is a strong defensive lineman, played for Texas. I think sometimes gets overshadowed a little bit by Alfred Collins, but has some really good tape. Plays really well. So kind of went back and forth. I went with Edge in this and went with Kyle Kennard, and we'll see how he does maybe one day. But yeah, then from there, moved on to round 4 now. We're back to pick 111. This time I went with the interior defender, Gigi Pegs. I can't pronounce it. I knew I was going to butcher one of these eventually. From Ole Miss. Another pretty good player. More just reinforcements, deepening that defensive line rotation. A little bit more on a pass rusher type profile there, but can also play some run defense. And I thought just, again, somebody who you can bring in and on a rotational basis, get him up to speed over the next, season or so, and let him work his way in and, spell the guys who are out there starting. So that way we keep the defensive line fresh, start really building and strengthening that line there. From there, I shifted back a little bit to the offensive side of the ball. Took a center at round 5, 140 this time. Had options. Cam Jackson, again, Gordon II was still there. Lane, Virginia Tech, I think wide receiver was still there. Fadil Diggs was there. Tonka Hemingway, Deion Walker. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of hype for Deion Walker, particularly with his size profile. But then, you start looking at the tape and look at his technique and how he plays. People are starting to have a lot of concerns with that. So expect to see him drop back a little bit. But I've already picked up, a couple edge guys, couple linebackers, a guy, interior defender. So I decided to try to go on the offensive line side of the ball. Again, not a position that's really been brought in a lot, but I went with the center Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State. Now he does have, I think it's a torn ACL. So he won't be playing, obviously, this season. You might even be able to wait and pick him up later because of it, but I don't know how much later. But you could give him, Carolina can afford to give him the season to finish healing up, maybe rotate him in towards the end of the season to start getting some reps, get him going next off season a lot stronger, and eventually replace Austin Corbett there at center. Corbett's been, his heart's in it. He wants to play. He wants to play hard, but he has season and injuries the last 2 years. So I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to honestly just hold up. So I think getting a backup there. I know Cade Mays has played well, but you just bring these guys in. Again, offensive line's been a strength this last season. We want to keep building that and want to have that rotation built in so they can just keep cycling players through and keep the line strong even when you don't have your starters out there. And speaking of which, my pick at 146 was Willie Lampkin from UNC. Small dude. I get it. But man, that is a tenacious and ferocious guard. I watched a lot of Willie Lampkin this season. Probably one of the people I've watched the most of all these guys that I'm talking about. And he fights every second he's out there. And it's just really fun to watch him. Plus, being a little shorter with a quarterback who's a little shorter, I don't think that can hurt too much. A little bit easier to see over the line and down the middle of the field there for Bryce Young. You watch him at the Senior Bowl too, man, and he went up against some of the best of them and held his ground a lot. I won't say he won like every single rep, but he definitely held his ground, and I think performed literally one of those guys punching above their weights and performed really well for his size profile. Then finally kind of wrapped up the last of this with some developmental prospects. I wanted to get actually a little bit more like special teams type players, but I didn't see anybody who really overly excited me. But I looked at 163. Let's see who was still on the board. Quincy Riley was someone who I was looking at. Told you his cornerback, the only cornerback that Carolina brought in, the Panthers brought in. But he had gone off just like Noel before, right before my pick. He went off at 162. I was at 163. So instead, I double dipped once more to the interior defensive line, took Tonka Hemingway. Again, rotational, developmental type guy. Plus, just love that name for a defensive lineman, Tonka Hemingway. Just what a great name. And then finally, last pick was still 230. Didn't trade it away or do anything. I was looking at Ollie Gordon the second here for this one. Based a lot of that on, when you're going through the PFF simulator, you get the average draft position, you get PFF's grade on them. And I thought for sure 230, he'd probably still be around. And sure enough, at 229, he got drafted. Once again, I got picked off 3 times in this draft. It's almost like it knew what I wanted to do next. So I missed out on Ollie Gordon, who was going to draft. It kind of just provide a little bit of depth there to running back room, but also start working in some new return specialists on special teams with the new return rules in place, and you get some speedy guys back there. I mentioned last time, I think I looked at Isaac Tesla for that role. This time I was going to try to bring in Ollie Gordon. So instead, with him off, I finally pulled out or picked a cornerback. Just went with Mac McWilliams from UCF. It's a late pick in the draft. Really going to be purely developmental here, but he might be able to provide some depth. He has some pretty good, I think, ball hawking skills, if I'm remembering correctly. A little bit of a home run hitter, though, hit or miss type of guy. Has a tendency to give up a play in order to try to make a play, which isn't always what you like. But if you can coach, that out from him, or coach him to moderate that a little bit, you can probably bring out the best in him and get a really good cornerback there that can get you some turnovers when you need it in opportune times. So that was, again, as quick as a rundown of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pick draft as I could do it. Again, I think obviously it takes 2 to tango. It's going to take another team to want to do it. But if the Panthers can work some magic here and either trade back at pick 8, the other option I was wanting to look at, but I didn't have time. And the way this one worked out, it worked out beautifully. If you can't trade back at 8, trying to trade up into the second round to get a pick there in the late 30s, early 40s, and take a swipe again at one of those guys, good safety, maybe a really good interior defender, or even if they're still hanging out, a wide receiver like Higgins or Noel, and you can do that. But, trade up would be difficult too. Wouldn't want to give up pick 57 to move it up. Would want like legitimately 2 picks in the second round to be able to maximize the potential of this draft. All right. That's enough, I think, Panthers talk for most people. So we'll move on. Thanks, Taryn, for the shout out in the comments. I, too, am hoping we have a good show here. We'll talk some Carolina Hurricanes now, who kind of are in a little bit of a slump. So not exactly what you'd want to see going on, but still sitting okay. They've locked up home ice advantage for the opening round. They'll be hosting the New Jersey Devils, and that's despite losing 3 of their last 4. They're now 1-4 or 1-3 in those last 4, including a loss to Toronto, 1-4. Their next game will be at the Montreal Canadiens. That is going to be in 2 nights' time, April 16th. It'll be at 7 p.m. Should be a good game. But part of that, slump includes a really wild game against the Capitals. the Hurricanes got up early in this one. I just want to go through this one because it was crazy. It was kind of following along a little bit as it was happening. I thought they were going to have it pretty well in hand, and then come to find out they lost it because they got up early, quick. First period up 2-0 at the 7:14 mark, looking pretty good. And then Washington starts coming back, pick up a goal on a power play before the end of the first, and then open up the second with and going to second with 3 goals for Washington. And so they took a 4-2 lead by the end of the second. So really back and forth. But Carolina was not done. And they came back with 2 more goals themselves, tied it up 4-4. That sent it into overtime. Nobody was able to get the deal done in overtime. And so we went to a shootout with Washington finally winning it. They got the first shot, first goal. And then after that, all shots were blocked. Carolina was not able to get a shot past the goalie. And so ended up going down in that shootout 0-1 and lose the final score 5-4. Like I said, pretty wild there. Definitely a lot of fun for hockey fans. But like I said, secured home ice for round 1. I'll be hosting New Jersey Devils. And I am working it out right now with Ricky K of New York State of Sports here on IE Sports Radio to do a special pod this Friday at 11. And we'll talk a little bit about the matchup between the Hurricanes and the Devils, what we can expect. Hopefully Carolina will end the season on a high note, and we'll be able to roll into the playoffs with a win and get back on it. All right, next up, we'll talk a little bit, not too much because it's not a whole lot of fun to talk about, but talk here now a little bit about our Charlotte Hornets. Really struggling and close out the season on a losing streak, really just getting kind of blasted first by the Raptors and then the Celtics for their last 2 games. Not much of a challenge there for the Celtics. So Charlotte's final game, they lose it 86-93. Okay, yeah, 86-93. They'll finish the season 19-63. But they do have, with that record, they're tied at 14% chance for the number 1 pick in the upcoming lottery. So that's maybe a little bit of good news for Hornets fans. Bad news is, I guess, if you follow the Hornets, you figure they're pretty unlucky, and there's no way, even though they've got an equal chance with 2 other teams to get it, they may not get it out at all. May not get it at all. But I've said it before, if you want to know more about the NBA draft coming up now on June 25th, please get over there. Check out Fast Break. Again, here on IE Sports Radio. They will have everything you want to know about the NBA playoffs coming up. Everybody who's on the teams on the play-in for that, and the teams who are already locked in. And then also follow that up immediately with the draft. So check those guys out, and they will give you the rundown that you are looking for all your basketball needs. All right. Yep. Dang, Hornets. No. Yeah. Taryn's right here. Didn't even make 20. We're holding our breath, kind of hoping that would come around, but they did not. So, like I said, though, maybe on the upside, get a shot at the number 1 pick. Maybe Cooper Flag. I keep hearing different things. He keeps going back and I don't know if he's going back and forth, but I keep hearing different things for him. as far as whether or not he's going in the draft. I'll read something on X that says, nope, he has said that he's coming back. And then everything I see on, official on ESPN or something like that, he's, they're acting like he's definitely going to declare. I don't think he's made an official call yet, but I think it's a pretty good chance that he's going to declare, and we'll see him in the draft this summer. And hopefully for the Charlotte Hornets, they get that number 1 pick and they're able to get flagged. Because as much as I hate to admit, a Duke player who was an outstanding player, that guy was amazing, incredible player on that team, really strong team overall. But that guy was just amazing to watch. All right, some Charlotte FC news. Charlotte finally is able to get over their away game hump with a 1-0 win over Montreal FC. Pep Biel scored quick in this one, 16 minutes right into the game. Was it that long? Yep, 16 minutes into the game, Pep Biel scores, and that ends up being the only goal needed. Montreal did have a lot of opportunities, had dominated the time of possession for this, which is a concern. We've talked about this before with Charlotte, having that intensity, getting it early and maintaining it throughout the match. Where we've seen them in the past, they, take a little while to warm up. It takes a little, they're, not as aggressive in the first half, come out of the second half firing a lot more aggressive. This time, a little bit, showed some pretty good pep, pun intended, actually, to get in there and score early. But then from there, they conceded possession 65-35%. Montreal was 65%, held the possession edge by 65%. There we go. How's that? And they had a lot of near misses. But, we've mentioned this before. Charlotte's got one of, if not the best goalie in the MLS. And so really put him to work there. Charlotte now sitting second in the East standings, right behind the Columbus Crew. They are at 5-1-2. Finally, like I said, picking up that first road win. Their next game will be hosting San Diego FC on the 19th of April at 7:30. Of note, Wilfred Zaha was actually out this game following the surgery to his hand. No real timeline, though, on when he might return. So hopefully he's back a little sooner rather than later, and we get him back in the lineup, and again, get back to maintaining that offensive intensity that we know that this team really kind of needs to keep working on. It's been good, but they really need to keep working on it, and if they expect to stay this high in the standings. All right, we're going to. Nope, I'm not going to take a quick break. I'm going to move on to one last call out here. We're going to talk a little bit Formula One. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I know we got the longest mile, and so I don't want to take their time away. But we do have our Charlotte-based Haas F1 team with a great outcome in the Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend. Really tough practice. Practice went fairly well for them. Qualifying was really tough. Oliver Behrman, the rookie, really struggled out there. Was not able to get out of the first qualifying session. Qualified 12th, which is 20th, which is dead last in the field. So he started on the very back row. Esteban Ocon got through to Q2. Unfortunately, on his first run, lost control of the car, spun it out into the wall, destroyed the back end of the car. Is absolutely a wreck. They slotted him in at 14th. I was not optimistic that they were going to get that car fixed in time for the race the next day, but they did. Crew worked on it tremendously. Got him out there, started in 14th, Behrman in 20th. Got the race going. Behrman picked up 5 spots before the first turn, or through the first turn, which is incredible. Just really stuck it right down the middle too, and just kind of basically bullied his way past 2 cars to pick up those 5 spots. After having already picked up a couple spots from other cars, passing other cars, got around the turn and picked up 1 more spot and settled out into 15th. Ocon picked up a couple spots, but then Haas really played a great strategy and planned out a really fine race that saw Ocon pit a little early and Behrman pit a little late, actually. So Behrman really worked and managed his tires very well. Ocon pitted a little early, was able to get an undercut on some of the drivers ahead of him. And by the end of the race, Ocon was 8th and Behrman was 10th. So Behrman cut the field in half, and Ocon was able to move up a very respectable 6 spots from 14th to 8th. And with that, in Formula One, the top 10 positions there will get points. So a double points finish for Haas, which is really saying something when you think about the fact that you've got the big teams. Right now, McLaren, Mercedes, huge. Red Bull, despite their troubles, still a very strong team, very good contender. You have Mercedes, AMG, and you have Ferrari. So there's usually, technically, 8 out of those 4 teams, each one running 2 cars. 8 of the 10 spots are automatic. The top 10 spots are almost automatically gone to those teams, which means those last 2 spots, like 9 and 10, technically, are up for grabs among the other 6 teams in the field. So that's really hard to fight for. And Alpine and the Racing Bulls have had some very strong cars this season. Fortunately, Aston Martin has not had a very strong car this season. And so Haas being able to get 2 drivers from 14th and 20th way out of the points and well into the points was amazing, to say the least, that they were able to do that and have put together a really good race strategy there and be able to pick those up. So again, I won't get into it, like all the race, and won't talk too much racing, but did want to highlight that the team and how well they did there. Now I will kick it over a little bit real quick to a couple of our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll roll into some college sports and take it away from there.
What's up, Wisconsin sports fans? I'm Dan, diehard Baholic, host of the Wisconsin Whistle. Check us out every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We're talking Green Bay Packers, Milwaukee Brewers, Milwaukee Bucks, Marquette basketball, Wisconsin football and basketball, and all Wisconsin sports. Don't miss us each week, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you with the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's talk. I want to do a quick little shout out to some college football recruiting here. I've been watching on X, a lot of guys starting to commit to different schools. And to be perfectly honest, UNC has picked up a couple really good folks here. So I really wanted to kind of take a quick moment to do a rundown, not just of them, but really everybody. There's sorry, I got a little distracted. There's some good stuff going around here. So we're talking about the 2026 class, not this incoming class. I'll allude to that a little bit, but really looking further to the future is how I like to think. I am planning ahead all the time, like daily life, whatever, what have you. But definitely when it comes to sports, I am always thinking about like who's going to be next because, let's be honest, college especially, you got the transfer portal now. You've got guys are only going to be around for 2, maybe 3 seasons if you're lucky, if they're that level of talent. So you got to constantly be thinking about, okay, who are we bringing in next? Who are we out there recruiting? And so I want to take a quick moment to talk about that. So right now, ESPN rankings for incoming 2026 classes, the Clemson Tigers for our Carolina faithful here sit the highest at number 3. Doing a great job here as always. Let's see. They've picked up 6 ESPN 300 recruits. Their top offensive prospect right now by ESPN standards, Naeem Burrows, a wide receiver who's a real burner, super fast guy. And then their top defensive prospect is Cameron Cody. See, where did he go? I know exactly how him. Let's see, Cameron Cody. Here we go. 6'3", 280-pound defensive tackle. Community Clemson, 3-star recruit. So, maybe a little bit of work there for them to do on the defensive side. But still, overall, a great class with those 6 top 300 recruits. Next up, at 16, South Carolina Gamecocks doing some damage on the recruiting trail. They've got 4 ESPN 300 recruits. On the offensive side, looking at Jamel House coming in. He is a 6'4", 215-pound tight end. That talk about great physical aspect there for the tight end position. Ought to be a really great addition for them in a couple years. And then on the defensive side, Xavier Currents, who is let's see. Great note, same high school as Jadeveon Clowney, but let's see here, 6'4", 210-pound safety. I think safeties are so underrated, man. You get yourself a good safety. It's got, some good height, but a little bit of meat on them. Can really come down, punish the run game. Love to have a good safety in the backfield, surveying everything, seeing what's going on. So, you got to be excited about that for South Carolina. And then for North Carolina, they are up to one of their highest rankings yet. much higher than last year, where I think they finished 45. But this year, currently sitting at 19. But I think they've got a lot of potential to head up. Belichick's been doing a lot of really good work on the road. You gotta believe that the aura or whatever you want to call it that comes with him. That the greatest of all time head coaches, his professionalism, his desire to turn Carolina into like a professional football team, basically in college, and use it as a pipeline to the NFL is really going to start speaking to a lot of these players. They're going to want to follow that. And so he's had already a really strong class for 2026 with, let's see, top defensive prospect is Trayshawn Ruffin. He's an in-state, so he's North Carolina guy, defensive tackle. He's flipped too. So he was originally committed to Texas A&M, 300-pound lineman. Should be a great player for Belichick to coach up and get ready for the pros. So, like I said, that's been his angle and how he's been working this. But what makes me excited about a lot of these, like a lot of this 2026 recruiting for North Carolina, is seeing them compete with schools who pull in 4 and 5 star prospects and not just, taking maybe one of the top 3 star, which, a lot of those guys can turn out to be really good. And we see a lot of guys going into the draft this year who came in as no star prospects or 1 and 2 star prospects. So just, I'm not trying to say like it has to be a high star, but seeing Carolina compete with a lot of these schools, Ohio State's, Clemson's, Georgia's, Texas A&M, Texas, compete with those level of schools to draw in new talent, and in some cases win, like this, flipping a Texas A&M recruit to bring him in, I think is fantastic. And another case in point on that, who I would count as their top offensive prospect at this point, is running back Jalen McGill, who had, in his tops, I think, 5 or 6, UNC was there, but so was Texas and Tennessee and UGA and Clemson. For him to pick Carolina over those guys, I think says a lot about what Carolina is doing on the recruiting trail right now. And it's got me really excited and fired up to see what Carolina is going to look like, not this coming year, but the next year, which is where I was interested in looking when Belichick was first hired. This first season, they'll be competitive and they'll be strong. It's going to be rough because the quarterback position is still really up in the air. Defense is losing some folks like Kamen Rucker. But I think that they have the potential to be competitive. I don't think they'll get close really to kind of like maybe thinking about that college football playoff like they did 2 seasons ago. But I do think they'll, have a pretty strong season. And then the next year, we're going to bring in Belichick's team of recruits when the team right now has had a year to train and learn under him. I think we'll see a huge jump. That's when we're really hoping they can at least contend for the playoff and maybe, even make it, especially once it expands. All right, let's dip into some baseball talk now. Ooh, that's a little too neon for me. That's better. All right. Let's talk NCAA baseball. No, not softball, baseball. Thank you. All right. So got a lot of movement here. All right. Clemson still sitting at formerly number 6. They're now number 3 in D1 baseball's top 25. They've been playing really well. Had a good series against, we talked about before, California. Swept there. Took down Gardner-Webb on their Wednesday game. And then this weekend played Stanford, took the 2-1 series win. Really dominated the first game. Tight second game, 11-10, and then lost the third game, 6-11. But they are still sitting really well. Like I said, they're at number 3 with a 33-6 overall record, 11-4 in the ACC. And Clemson is looking like a really strong contender here. And let's see, looking forward, they've got Louisville this next weekend, and then follow that up with Georgia, NC State. So we'll see how this goes into the middle of next month, and hopefully, have a good chance and a strong case to get into the College World Series coming up. After them, you've got this is not going quite the way around. All right. Next up, after Clemson, you've got North Carolina, previously at number 19, have moved up to number 12 now. Again, with some really strong play. They got we talked about last week, got the 2-1 series over Duke, but then followed that up with a win over Elon and then a sweep of Wake Forest to improve their ACC record. They're now at 11-7 in the ACC. Again, further off of that 500 spot and 28-8 overall. Again, this is, coming up here, hopefully can start making a real good, strong push here at the end and get themselves into that College World Series as well. It'd be nice to have a lot of representation there. But that Wake Forest series, I think, pretty big too. The first 2 games, blowouts 11-1 and 17-1. And then the last game, a 3-2 win. So winning a close one there, really good for the Tar Heels. But Wake Forest, again, they have sat at number 16 at one point this season. So not a cupcake team there to get a really strong sweep against. They next play Charlotte tomorrow night. They're at the Bosch in Chapel Hill. And then they go on the road to Blacksburg, Virginia, to play Virginia Tech this weekend. And then follow that up with Presbyterian in Pittsburgh. So we'll keep an eye on them. And like I said, hopefully they continue to make moves up to the top 25 going into the end of the season. And finally, we round out our baseball, top 25 baseball teams with Coastal Carolina. If the page will load for me. They have been playing pretty well. They were previously ranked 21, and they are still ranked 21. So hanging in there, doing pretty well. They had wins against Wilmington. We talked about them before. Earlier in the season, Wilmington had some pretty surprising wins, not backing down from some of the better competition. And Coastal Carolina able to get that win 8-4. And then a 3-game sweep for them against Georgia State, 6-5, 14-8, and 4-2. That puts them at 27-9 and 11-4 in the Sun Belt. So some great games there from Coastal Carolina. They've got Wake Forest next, so that'll be a good, tough game. And then they'll follow that up with Marshall and College of Charleston. So, again, a good team to keep an eye on and watch them to see how things click along for them. All right, I'll move over now, talk a little bit about some softball. Right? Yeah, let's talk some softball. Let's see. Nope. Okay. Where did my scores go? Sorry, folks. I am trying to figure this out. Here we go. This is what I want. All right. Oddly enough, both baseball and softball, number 1 on both these rankings, Texas. So great program there in Texas. But we are here to talk about number 6, South Carolina. Continues to stay there in the top 10, playing well. Once this loads up, tell you all about it. There we go. So they've been playing well. Hitting a little bit of a slump, though, I feel like here lately. So Ole Miss, they got a 2-1 win, or a 2-1 series over Ole Miss. Charleston Southern got the W. Okay, that's great. But then Arkansas starting to slip a little bit with a 1-2 series loss. They took the middle game 5-4, and lost the first game 10-2, in the final game 5-4 as well. You go back now, that's 3-3 in their last 6, so a little bit under what you would want, really, but they still set 32-10. They run this, like, some of these softball rankings are a little confusing to me because they are 7-8 in the conference, 32-10 overall, and yet they're sitting at number 6. When you come down here to Duke, right? Yep, Duke is our next one at 15. Check this out, but I'm pretty sure Duke seeing a little bit better, 31-13, but 12-6 in the ACC, and on a real tear right now. We talked about last time, swept UNC with 3-0. This time, Pittsburgh goes down in the series 2-1 with some pretty convincing wins there, 13-7, 11-3 in their 2 wins, booking the wins, and then 3-5 in their 1 loss there. But over the last 7, 8, 9, 11 games, 1 loss in their last 11 games. So Duke really playing pretty hard, but for whatever reason, seeing at 15th, I guess I would say, just not understanding that 100%. Oops, sorry, I should have done that. All right, I will give out. I was going to talk some USL, but I'm already over my time. I will also give out one more shout out. I wanted to talk a little bit. Let's see here if I can find it. Some lacrosse, both men's and women's. They've been playing pretty hard here last couple of months. I've been wanting to talk about them, but haven't had a chance. So I'm going to take a moment now. Let's see. To highlight some of our top-ranked teams. All right, so men's lacrosse, number 4, North Carolina, staying at 9-2. They're 3-1 on the road, 6-1 at home, playing really well there. So be sure to follow them, especially like I follow them a lot on X, kind of keep up with their games. Duke also doing really well, sitting at number 10, 9-4 overall record. You also have, let's see, I thought we had one more. Yeah, that's it for the top 25. So Duke and North Carolina really showing their chops in lacrosse, which I think is pretty important because Belichick, I think, big-time lacrosse player, big-time lacrosse fan. So maybe another reason why he was interested in coming here to UNC, because on the women's side, Carolina is also doing well there. Yep. So this, yeah, I guess so. All right. So no, depends on who you look at. So RPI, let's see. So on one of these polls, Carolina is actually number 1 in the nation. Here on the NCAA Women's Lacrosse RPI, they're at number 2, right behind Boston College. Carolina's 14-0. Boston College is 14-1. That 1 loss is to Carolina. So let's see if I can load this one real quick. There we go. So the women's Division I media poll right now, North Carolina sits at number 1. Let's see, follow that up. Duke again, playing really well. They're at number 8. That's up 12 spots. They're at 12-3. I guess playing great. Clemson also doing really well. Women's lacrosse, 11-5. That's good for 14th. Man. And that will do it for the Carolina teams in women's lacrosse. So spring sports definitely underway. Definitely a lot of fun. Next time, I might give a final draft. I'll try to go through it quick. I may forego it. I really liked that last draft, to be honest. So I may let let that one stick as my draft. And then we'll start talking a little bit more in depth about some of these spring sports. USL, you got the men's pro league there, Champions League. Got advancement and relegation going on. You got women's Super League, Pro League with the Ascent. And then you've got women's pre-pro league. You got the North Carolina Courage. On the men's side, you got North Carolina FC. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of great spring sports going on. And you can check them all out here on the Carolina Sports Update with me, Neil Curtis, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.